We are live, gentlemen. Hi, how are you, boys? Hi, how are you, Richard?
How you doing?
Good.
I'm good. So today, we are having this conversation with young man, with politician, with veteran. More importantly, to talk about issues and talk about anything we want to talk. So, should we just start with Boyce is in the middle now. So,
Yeah.
Boyce, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then, so have a good intro for us.
So I started doing YouTube 2 years ago, and I dedicated my channel to covering Andrew Yang's candidacy because of his humanity first approach, and specifically his policy better than a handshake or more than a handshake policy when it comes to veterans. And if you guys remember, you go back to that policy, Richard Ojeda is one of the people that Andrew got counseling from on how to write that policy properly. And so then I got to reach out to Richard and I interviewed him about it, and I've become more and more active in political activism now more than anything else.
Yeah, and you have a wonderful YouTube channel. Just tell us a little bit about how often you do it, who you talk to.
My podcast, YouTube channel, whatever you call it, is a Mindful Skeptics podcast. I also have the Trickle Up Network, which does daily news. I'm just all about politics right now and humanitarianism and abolishing poverty. Equal rights. We need everyone to have equal rights. That includes economic equality across the board.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Richard Ojeda, so nice meeting you. So honored.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being with us. And so tell us a little bit about yourself. I know your biography is very long, but
I retired from the military and had no desire to ever participate in politics because for the most part, every politician that I ever knew sucked, was a crooked ass bastard. I hope that's okay. But when I returned home and was, a civilian for the first time in 24 years, I looked around and I saw all these so-called politicians, and I realized that they were nothing like the leaders that I served with in the military. In the military, your troops come first. I mean, in the military, you don't eat until your troops are fed. In the military, leaders go outside the wire to show the troops that they're willing to take on the same, hazards as the troops are. And then you get here to the civilian world and you see a bunch of so-called leaders with their hands in the cookie jar. So I just decided to start challenging these people. And of course, everybody knows some of the downfalls, the attack that happened where I almost was, I had 8 broken bones in my face with brass knuckles. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, the key thing is that I want to make sure people understand that everybody needs to participate in politics. I didn't participate in politics for 24 years. All I cared about was who can give me the most beans and the bullets to fight and win this nation's wars. And that was for the most part the Republicans, because, the Democrats tried to, balance the budget and they cut the military and the Republicans didn't. But at the end of the day, I quickly learned that everybody needs to participate in politics. Everybody deserves to have a voice, and everybody has to get involved, because if you don't, then you get what you get. Right now I'm in a state that has a super majority on the Republican side, and the bills that are being pushed are not being pushed to try to get people support. They're being force fed to the people, and there's not a damn thing that you can do about it until you can finally get back power. And I have continued to say that the state that I live in is going to have to burn to the ground before we can rise from the ashes. And it's a shame, but everybody needs to play politics. You got to get into politics.
Thank you so much. Whoa.
Yes, man, I got it. Too easy.
Well, also Richard started the No Dems Left Behind as well.
Yeah.
We do. We're with No Dem Left Behind. It's not easy. We go down into the red rural districts. We try to pick a fight with the people like the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Lauren Boeberts, the Josh Hawleys. That's what we're focusing on in 2022 and 2024. It's not easy because a lot of people, they don't, it's easy to donate money to candidates that are going to win, but a lot of people are hesitant to donate to races that are tough races. And the truth is that if people don't get involved with No Dim Left Behind and support us, then how can you ever expect us to flip a red sea blue if we're not willing to get in there and put in the work, the money, and the fight?
Well said. Well said. Hi, we have Jamie. Jamie, just wait. I can't hear you. Oh,
You're muted.
let's unmute you. Okay. Yeah.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello, Richard.
How you doing? Love the math. Love the math, Ed. That's a
Thank
Yang
you.
ganger. Honestly, my father yesterday, I looked out, my father was working in the yard and he had a Yang hat, but it was an autographed Yang hat that I got him. And I'm like, whoa, come here. You need to put that one in a box. That's
I don't know if you can see it, but it is signed.
there you go.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah. Yes. So, Jamie, we'll just introduce ourselves a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself and anything you wanted to, important to you, message-wise. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. We lost you.
You're muted again.
Oh,
I just did that
okay, good.
thing off of there. Okay. My name is Jamie Grasso, and I was in the Navy for 6 years, 10 months, and I was corpsman, and I got out in 2008, and it was pretty easy for me to get a job in New York. And then I ended up having to go to Washington, where it's required for medical assistants to have certification, whereas in New York it really wasn't. And I literally was laughed out of interviews because they would look at my resume and say, how did you do, there's no way you did all this without being certified. And I'm like, well, that's the military. They tell you to do something and you do it.
Yeah.
So, and I did do a lot of things. I had cut and sutured in the OR. I worked in a NICU. I did a lot of things. And, they literally laughed at me and called me a liar. I'm like, okay, well, have a nice day. Thank you for your support of veterans. And I would leave. It's just the fact that, I understand the need for certification, absolutely. But the fact that we can't even get jobs without the certification, but we're not given the certification when we get out, is ridiculous. And as I was telling Ching earlier, I was often questioned on my procedure on how I would do things because it was just slightly different than maybe how they learned it. I learned 1,001 ways how to make a baby bed in the NICU, but on the outside, they would question how I was doing something. And I'm like, well, this is how I was taught in the Navy how to do it. Oh, well, this is how we'll do it here. I said, well, it's good enough for the military, but it's not good enough for this clinic. So,
Yeah.
And it was always because I wasn't certified, even though I ran circles around the other medical assistants.
So how difficult is it to get certified? What is the procedure?
Well,
There isn't one.
I was told that you had to go back to school.
Yeah.
And so, and which I did not want to have to do, because why do I have to go back to school to relearn everything that I already know? It makes no sense.
It's a racket. It's a racket, and that's the problem, is that our government is allowing the military, servicemen and women to basically fall victim to the process. When in actuality, you are spot on. There are a lot of things in the military that we train troops to do, and they do them. And then, of course, when you get out of the military, they want you to pay the fees and all the dues and go get
it's
retrained.
A way to retain us.
Yeah, when I retired from the military, one of the things that I got the ability to teach ROTC, but what they wanted me to do rather than just getting out of the military, like I'm not an expert, 24 years in the military, they actually originally wanted me to go back and get a degree in education. And I'm like, first and foremost, you guys are asking me, you want me to be the ROTC instructor, but yet now you're telling me I got to go back and go to school. I got a master's degree. I'm not going back and get another bachelor's degree in education. Yeah, it's garbage. It's a money racket is what it is.
Yeah.
I think it keeps the schools employed because they get the kickback from the GI Bill. They know they're going to get that money.
Easy money.
Absolutely. And I understand the need for the GI Bill if you want to further your education, but you shouldn't need it to read.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to go back and get qualified in what you've already done.
Exactly.
And I understand you were medical.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You were medical in the military. The most sought after people in the United States of America today in that profession are people that served in the military. Because at the end of the day, if you were in any combat situation, you have dealt with multiple people coming in the room with lost limbs, with sucking chest wounds, with everything, burns. I mean, to me, it's absolute garbage. You were a corpsman in the Navy and you served it for 6 years. You probably got deployments under your belt. You've seen plenty to be. I
never deployed, but I was working in the hospitals.
Well, then you
exactly.
In a hospital.
Yeah.
That's a deployment.
But well, I was stationed in Okinawa for 3 years. But yes, it's they're literally telling like corpsmen that would come from combat positions that they literally can't do anything. I was told by my leadership right before I got out because they didn't want me to leave, and they're like, well, you're not going to be qualified to do anything but work for Walmart and McDonald's. I'm like, well, I already have job offers in New York, it's good that New York does that, but if you go to another state, that's all you qualify for, and you don't even qualify for that. I couldn't even get hired by those places.
Yeah,
because I'd been out for too long.
Yeah, people on the Armed Services Committee and things like that really need to step up their game and set things up. I'm just going to tell you, you got a person in the military that all you have to do is watch Baghdad ER, which is a documentary on HBO, and you're watching, people in the medical field putting arms and legs in bags that they have to dispose of. You're talking about, a door opens up and you've got 5 wounded coming in at one time. I mean, the level of competency with our people in the military and the medical field actually is probably better than what you see in the average hospitals across this country. Because
I said,
I
ran circles around all the other medical assistants in the clinic. I was running circles around them. I was putting 3 patients in a room. I'd hand one other patient off to another medical assistant, and I would triage all 3 patients before she even got done with the first one. And I actually had my nurse manager come up to me and she said, I got done with the 3rd patient. She said, we're going to need you to move a little faster. I said, go down into that other room, go talk to this girl in there. I guarantee you she's on her phone doing a blood pressure with the blood pressure cuff not even hooked up to the patient. And she's probably been in there as long as I've been triaging these 3 other patients. Well, I said, I'm not the one that you need to be talking to.
Well, that's something we all know about our experience in military. Is you're not asked to do more with less. You're forced to do more with less.
Oh yeah.
And that I guess the ingenuity / fluidity to morph into the situation where no matter what happens, you have been there, you've done that, and you have the skill sets to say, okay, like Richard was saying, now there's 5 people. And you've been taught how to triage, that one needs the most right now. And you just automatically have these muscle memories in the mind of how to do your job. You don't need to go to an instructor who's never left campus for 10 years tell you that you're good enough.
They were trying to teach me how to do injections again. I'm like,
yeah,
I've been doing this.
And I believe Richard, didn't you have that in one of your Veterans Bill of Rights? Isn't that listed? Didn't you have your Veterans Bill of Rights thing where it was part of that competency should be overflowed and just automatically get your education covered? Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely, because once again, it's wrong for you to have to waste, and it's what it is, wasting your GI Bill so that you can get certified in something that you are already an expert in. It's bull.
And
it's
not
bullshit.
only that, it's a waste of taxpayer money.
Yeah, it's throwing away an opportunity.
Absolutely.
You know, at the end of the day, what you should be using your GI Bill for is to, go to the next level, not to have to go back and cover the same ground. And that's the thing, is you got to find legislators, like that are on the Armed Services Committee that can really step up and really start setting things in place. I mean, look, it's not going to hurt me, because I was a combat troop. I mean, nobody gives two. I haven't yet been asked, hey man, could you blow a door off the hinges so we can shoot people? I ain't never been asked those questions. But I'm not that kind. In your combat arms, your stuff is not really exchanged. Not even the police want you. But the rest of you guys that have had real jobs. The rest of y'all who had real jobs like that, you should not have to deal with this garbage.
They should want combat people because they know how to de-escalate a certain situation better than escalating it.
And understand that we were held accountable for escalation of force. We were held accountable for our actions. I mean, when you squeeze the trigger, you had to absolutely make sure that you were doing everything and you did everything, until it was like, okay, I had to. Escalation of force, just rules of engagement, which would be nice if police officers maybe had that. I don't know.
So can you guys
Hey.
can you guys explain to the policy of Andrew Yang more than a handshake? What does that mean?
Richard, you want to take that? Because you kind of helped write that one, didn't you?
No, not with. I mean, Andrew Yang and me. Whenever he would reach out to me and talk to me about veteran stuff, I mean, at the end of the day, we absolutely should be doing much more for our veterans. Understand that I don't care who you are. If you've deployed to combat, you are going to come back with a level of post-traumatic stress disorder. You may not go outside the wire. But if you are inside the wire and you're dealing with mortars, you're dealing with rockets, I'm going to tell you, the first time a rocket landed close to me, I am telling you, I literally almost soiled my pants.
Hell yeah.
I can't even imagine.
You don't even begin. You feel that deep in your chest. I've actually got a photograph of me where I'm holding a mortar round. And that mortar round, literally about 20 seconds before I took that picture, had just landed behind me. That was a dud.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that happened to me twice. I had one of them land right in the HESCO next to my door when I was in my hooch. I opened up my hooch because I heard the mortar rounds coming in, and I was like, man, that was close. So I opened my door, and there's a private first class, and he says, get out of there. And of course, me as a captain at the time, I'm like, who the F you think you're talking to, private? And then I look down and I see a damn mortar right there in my basket, HESCO bastion, like literally 3 inches from my leg. And I was like, shit, I just took off a friggin' running. But at the end of the day, there are things that we absolutely should be doing for our veterans. Every politician wants to claim they love the veterans and they want to take pictures with the veterans. But at the end of the day, when we get out of the military, and especially when we find ourselves back in America, where the majority of people that are serving in this country are finding themselves in deployments all over the world, we got to do more for them.
We're not just here for their photo ops.
Right, exactly.
They take their pictures, they shake our hands, and then they leave, and they got that warm, fuzzy feeling in their tummy that they did something nice for a veteran on Veterans Day. When we go out, me and my husband, who's also a veteran, when we go out on Veterans Day and get something to eat, they always shake his hand first. They rarely, even though I'll be wearing this, my dog tags, they'll walk up to him and think.
No, and that's wrong, and it's a shame because women.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't recognize him.
No,
because honestly, he did deploy on ships.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what you're saying is true, and it's a shame. Today women are doing. Today women are in the infantry. Women are in field artillery. Women are combat engineers. I was a combat engineer literally my entire career, other than a small stint where I was a scout for a while. But I'm going to tell you right now, as a combat engineer, there was never no such thing as females. In the 12B and 12C world, there were no females. Now they are. And oh, by the way, women are graduating from Ranger School, from Sapper School. They've graduated from the Special Forces Selection Course. Women have proven to be able to do anything that a man can do.
Do you know if we have a female SEAL yet? No.
No, I don't know.
When are we going to be on subs? That's one thing I wanted to do when I was in, but they say it's because of birthing.
All the quarters.
They don't have the birthing for women.
The what?
Down under the water. We can't go under there because we're,
It's because
they don't have the proper birthing for us.
Yeah, you got to have birthing areas that's designated for just women, and bathrooms and stuff like that for
which
private.
I get.
Yeah.
But let's get on with that. Apparently, Canada does it.
Every other country does.
Every other country does it. Every other country does it.
Yep.
I hear it stinks really bad though, so whatever. But I did want to go on a sub when I was in.
I've been on a civilian sub, and I
volunteered like I want to say 3 times to go on a ship. They never put me on one.
Wow.
But as far as the policy goes, guys, the way to really explain this to civilians is it's like we put so much emphasis on training to go from civilian to combat ready troops that we don't do it on the way out. And that's what the more than a handshake policy is flipping that process and says if it takes you 3 to 4 months just to get the basic training done, it should take you 3 to 4 months to process out.
They barely give you like a week of taps.
Yeah, just that's it. Yeah, I got less than
nothing.
Yeah,
like it was nothing.
So the policy is like it should take you that long to come back into the civilian world to decompress, to seek counseling. I think is be a huge one to help people kind of process what they've been through, especially combat people that've been on the front liners. But like that whole process should be reversed and say, okay, it's going to take you. Let's give you 2 to 3 months to really get back into how to go through the resume. The whole
it needs to. And it needs to be absolutely adhered to. The problem is, especially when you have senior non-commissioned officers and officers, I will tell you, your unit does not want to say, oh, okay, you're 6 months out. You need to focus on getting yourself squared away to get out. Your unit doesn't want that. Your unit wants you to be in training. They want you to push troops. They want you to do everything you can. And then
they want to retain you.
Yeah, they want you to clear.
They'll scare you to stay in.
Yeah, they want you to clear on don't know when. I mean, it's always been a pain. And what happens is the person gets out of the military and they don't have all the answers. And I will tell you that you should literally spend the last 6 months. I think I was given I was allowed to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and take like a 3-day course. That basically told you what you could do and all that. And that was pretty much it. And I worked up until the day I pretty much left.
The only thing that me too, actually, like I didn't even have like my I was actually on the schedule and I was like, I have to pack. I have to move. They're like, well, we need you on the schedule. So I went above the schedule officer and said, excuse me.
Yeah.
But
I'm getting out.
But understand
and then in TAPS, like the only thing they really told me to do was like sign up for unemployment.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, all branches, fall victim to this. And until somebody steps in and makes it a mandatory thing, it's never going to change. The military is always going to try to, continue working you until the day that you leave. I will tell you right now, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I never even had a retirement ceremony, No.
I didn't retire, but I didn't even have like a goodbye party or anything like that. I just left.
But I mean, you spent 20 years in the military.
Exactly.
Look, I'm not going to gripe about it because the truth is I really didn't give a shit. But at the end of the day, it should be mandatory. You spend 20 years in the military, there should be.
They should say something.
Yeah.
They didn't say nothing to you?
No, I did. I basically cleared out my desk and said, "Hey, see you guys, man.
Bye. Right?
Peace." Yeah.
Right? That's what I did. I cleaned out my locker. Goodbye.
Yep.
So, Richard, all of you, Boyce and then Jamie, Richard, you all in military in different times, I guess, a different unit. And so, what are the if you were naming like two very important things for the military or veteran system to make it better, well, how would you address that? Like, what are the most sort of are there too many problems, or can you name two very important things needs to be changed?
I think in terms of combat, I think that that they need to really address PTSD in the military
While you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the military is basically doing what the civilian hospitals are doing now. When I was coming up in the military, and I served in tip of the spear units, 82nd Airborne Division, 2nd Infantry Division, 10th Mountain Division. I always served in really solid units. And when you got hurt, when you was doing PT and you rolled an ankle or something like that, you got told, "Here's a bottle of Motrin, and I'll see you at PT tomorrow."
Here's Motrin. That's what the HM starts for. Here's Motrin.
Yeah, we call it Ranger candy. But, at the end of the day, what's been happening since we've started these wars, the global war on terror, is now soldiers are returning home injured. And instead of, trying to fix the problem, they're medicating it. And they're putting these soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines on Oxycontin, on hydrocodone. And the thing about the military is that's different from the civilian side. In the military, they'll give you a bottle of 60 Oxycontin or hydrocodone, and they will expect you, when you hit to a certain date, you're done. You're done. You can come back. You can start doing your duty. They'll cut you off. And what happens is now you got 5 days of any of these meds, you will develop dependency. So now we have soldiers that are addicted to drugs. And what happens is they cut them off. And what these soldiers are doing, and they're wrong for doing it, but a lot of them are going to the civilian world, because when you walk into a civilian hospital and you show your military ID card, they say, "Ooh, this is money," because they get, Uncle Sam pays. They'll go ahead and continue giving them soldiers the meds. And then the next thing you know, it's your analysis exam, and those soldiers are popping hot on a piss test. And what they're doing is they're kicking them out with less than general discharges, dishonorable or less than honorable discharges, and that removes them from their GI Bill, their VA capabilities, and it's not their fault. And that is a huge a horrible thing that our government has done. And I'm going to tell you, as a company commander in my second command, I kicked soldiers out of the military for doing just that. And I didn't even know.
Good ones.
I didn't even know. I didn't realize it till later.
I actually knew a guy while I was in. His wife, I don't know, I think she's trying to leave him, but she accidentally gave him an Oxycontin or a Percocet or something when he thought he was getting like a Tylenol, and he popped positive and they kicked him out.
There's not even a petition. You can't appeal.
No.
I know, I get that.
No, I mean, we kicked them to the curb, and then it wasn't like,
zero tolerance.
But at the end of the year, I started realizing what was going on, and I actually put in an IG complaint against the hospital at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, because when I started contacting these doctors and telling these doctors, because I started looking at let me see what you got. Holy shit, you got that going a bottle of Oxycontin, and we knew it was wrong. And then the only thing that they did was they said, "Okay, we're going to stop treatment for that soldier." That soldier's addicted to drugs now, and the sad part about it is out of that 1 year gap, the first 7-8 months, I thought, they're a bunch of knuckleheads on drugs, kick them to the curb.
Yeah, you don't have time.
So sometimes it can be really easy to think that, but it's far more.
I never ever in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I mean, the only thing that our soldiers ever really got in trouble for, and I didn't care. And that was, the only thing that I was ever angered about was DUIs. When we were combat troops, I never once held anything. I told my soldiers, if you're going to go out on the weekends and you're going to fist fight, all I ask is that you friggin' win, and if two people jump, if you come in with the busted up face, the first thing I say is wear your battle buddy. Because if your battle buddy's not wearing the same damn bruises, I'm getting rid of his ass.
Mm-hmm.
Boyce,
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So tell us a little bit of what you did in military, and then anything good. We're bitching right now. Anything good for benefit to today, the way you do things.
Well, for me, the military was an escape from poverty, first and foremost. I was a poor trailer park, white trash. That's the whole label we have. You're white trash in a trailer park in a small town in the Midwest. And I had a full ride for track and field. I blew it. I blew my knee out on a trampoline. That was that. I blew that opportunity.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then I had to kind of reinvent myself. So I tried to get into a skilled trades. I got into an apprenticeship program. My car caught fire while I was driving it. So I literally had to quit my job 6 months into an apprenticeship program. And I said, sorry, guys, I got to quit. And I said, man, F the Midwest. I'm out of here. I'm going to go to recruiter station, and I'm going to go to the very first door I come to. I didn't give a shit what branch it was. The first door, the quickest way out. I walked in is the Navy. Opened the door and said, hey, I've never seen the ocean. Cool. I hope I don't get seasick. How far away can I get, and how soon can I leave? I mean, those are the two questions. I didn't ask about nothing else. How soon can I leave, and how far away can I get? And my recruiter just says, Brr. He goes, I can have you in Guam by Christmas, son. I was like, sounds lovely. So for me, it was just an escape. It really was an escape, and it was an opportunity to kind of reinvent myself. That's how I approached it. I wasn't there for a career. I was there for my money. I want my benefits. I want to get the fuck out of Dodge before I get hurt. I don't want to come out with, within as few injuries as possible. I just want to get through this. This is what I had to do to get to stay out of poverty. I don't want to live in a fucking trailer park again. And to be a loser. I was never going to be a loser. I would not accept that label. And so for me, the military provided all the things I wanted from it. And what the positives I'll say is, first and foremost, you learn to be accountable, period. No excuses. There's no debate. This is not a questionable thing. You are held to account, period. If you do your job well, you'll advance. You'll be given more responsibilities. If you're good at cleaning the damn shitter, guess what? You're going to be in charge of other people cleaning shitters. Then you don't have to clean shitters no more.
Head in boot camp.
That's right, man. You learn that if you do hard work, you get rewarded if possible, But for me, it was accountability and really held myself to a higher standard of not having to hustle people to get by. Just do your job and you'll get rewarded eventually. When it's your turn, you'll get it. But the biggest thing I think I learned was recognizing true leadership. When things go right, a true leader doesn't say it's because of me. They immediately deflect the glory onto the people that helped them get there. That's a true leader. That's why Donald Trump is not a leader. You automatically don't own the wins. You own the failures, though, because it's under your leadership. So it could be something minor as far as like failing an inspection of a whatever department, and that you failed the inspection. The old man says, "Hey, you dumbass, you forgot to clean that up, didn't you?" And you're like, "Shit, you know what? You're right, sir. Bam, it's on me."
My friends failed a room inspection, and they asked her why, and she said, "Because I'm a lazy shitbag, petty officer."
Yeah, you got to own that shit. But that's, to me, that's huge. Recognizing you're not as easily fooled. That's the big thing. I've worked for a lot of bullshitters since then, and you recognize true leadership skills. And when someone's blowing smoke up your ass, you are keen to that.
I used to tell on myself all the time. They'd get so annoyed with me, but I'd tell on myself all the time when I'd mess up on something, because it's better to confess that you did something wrong and go to fix it than have them find out and try to figure out who done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are the positives, man. You get to, first of all, you get to see the world. I got in the Navy. I got deployed 3 or 4 different places, different times. But I got to see the world, half the planet. I touched that soil. But I come back here, you're so thankful for this country that is the greatest experiment ever conducted on a society level, on a social level, is true individual democracy, which is unheard of. We're still an experiment, and we're failing it right now drastically.
I will tell you that I will tell you that I actually loved the discipline. You know, when I was in the military, it was just like, to me at first, it was like, you know, push-ups and sit-ups and things like that. But I learned real fast that if somebody said Ojeda and I sprinted to them and locked it up at Parade Rest, and you did exactly what you were supposed to do, you know, you got treated differently. You realized that if you did what you were told and you conducted yourself as a professional soldier, you know, because that's what you are. You know, I tell people all the time, we are professional athletes in the military. You know, the only difference is if we don't win, we don't come home. But, you know, we absolutely, I learned at a young age in the military that if I did exactly what I was told, then I got treated with the utmost respect. And then you started seeing the benefits. You started seeing the promotions. You started seeing, you know, responsibility, you know, handed down to you. And that's not a negative thing. When you are given responsibility in the military, that means that they believe that you can accomplish the task. And that is, you know, that, and that's where you tell yourself, they wouldn't give me this if they didn't think that I could do it. So I'm going to do it. And it's something that's why the military is different. That's why when, as a civilian, if somebody tells Boyce, hey, I need you at 7 o'clock in the morning to be at this location, he's going to be there at 6:30, standing, waiting for them to get there. We don't play that late bullshit game.
Yeah, don't you dare.
Yeah.
But Ching, when you served in the CCP, right? In the China when you was coming up, right?
I just saw that come up on the thing. I was like, Ching, I didn't know you were in the military.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, my little experience is very different from yours. Is and during those time, I mean, you know, I'm probably the oldest person in this group. It was a fashion. It
Don't
was
be so sure.
Hi, Richard. It was a fashion to play in the military orchestra. Okay, because during those days, there's no it's an end of the Cultural Revolution. There's no universities or any professional school where you can go to. I was a musician, Richard, and Jamie knows, and Boyce knows. So yeah. So I loved army people even when I was very young. I remember once I told my mom, I said, today I saw a female soldier on the street and I walked behind her for a long time. I felt so happy. I was just behind her, just follow her, you know, on the street for a long time. So it just shows the three category people in China those days. We're talking about during Cultural Revolution, okay? In the Mao Zedong's idea is three categories: soldiers, workers, farmers. Those are the most honorable class people. People have knowledge, or professors, they're trash. They're bad people. So only these classes people. So I always want to be the best. So it's like, how come, you know, my family is not workers or farmers, you know? So, and then finally I auditioned for the Chinese military orchestra. It's a troop only digs holes in the mountain of Sichuan, like really in inner China mountains. So it's a construction. It's a construction army. Yeah, it's called construction army. So I won the audition. So I went. I was 17. So I went. It was very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Although I didn't really go, you know, carry the gun to go to the war or any war-liking situation, but it was very. Yeah, I remember every morning.
Served.
I served. Yeah, every morning we're supposed to get up 6 or before to clean the yard. You know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and to do something else. I forgot. But anyway, it was really strict. And I learned discipline, like Boyce said. I learned to shut up, because I am a big mouth. I have a big mouth. I learned to shut up, and I was very well behaved. Yeah. So by the time I was leaving, they were really supportive because I said I want to go to United States. I showed them I had a scholarship from universities. So I said I want to go to United States to study music. So they let me go. Otherwise they wouldn't. Yeah. So anyway,
Jamie's on mute again. Okay, she's good now.
I muted it because the dogs are barking.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, but I have to say, Army, for me, it was, it was very glorious. It was like I literally worship to be an Army person when I was younger, if not farmer or workers,
You're culturally primed.
Yeah. Yeah. I own like all colors of uniform myself, like they're fake uniform, but I own all of them, all 3 different colors. Yeah. So anyway,
I gotta say, that's the first thing you learn in boot camp is shut the hell up. That's the first thing you learn. Shut up.
They tried to teach that to us in our division. They couldn't shut the females up at all.
Well, that was never an issue with us. But what we learned is no matter what you do, you're wrong. In the beginning, that doesn't matter. It does not matter what you do. You are wrong. It's part of the process. They break you down and they build you back up.
Yes. Yes.
They only give you
about motivating.
They only give you parts of you back that they want, that they need to fulfill the need. They're like, okay, you're an asshole, but if we can
build on that
asshole to fulfill this need, we need you to be the bully for this, or that's your personality type, is an asshole. Like they take away your name, your hairdo, and they don't give a shit what your name is. Your name is Recruit. You don't have a name. Your name ain't Boyce.
Recruit.
Yeah, Boyce. Who the fuck, man? Get out of here.
Recruit.
First of all, your name's Recruit Littlefield or Shitbird.
When basic training was over, I thought my name was Peckerhead. Honestly,
I only responded to my last name for the longest time. Yeah. Like, I came home on leave, and they're like Jamie, and it's almost like I forgot. They were like Anderson. I'm like, oh, that's right. My name is Jamie.
That's part of the culture too, is when you're in for, like, I was only in for 4 years, but still it's a long time to be in it, to be 24 hours you're in it. You wrote that blank check, man. You haven't paid that debt yet, like you're
when
always
when I got out, one of the first things at the job that I was working at, I was like, so what do I call you guys? Because we always called each other like HM3. Like, what do I call you? Because I didn't know, I wasn't used to calling people by their names. That was very informal. Like, I didn't like, oh, okay, I'm allowed. Okay, I can call you by your name. Then that's not informal or disrespectful.
Right.
Well,
I still have a problem with that, with calling anyone I respect by their first name without pre-approval, I guess you'd say. Like, even my teachers from high school, I still call them by their last name because they will always be in a superior position to me.
Right.
If I saw my the captain of my ship right now, Commander Davison, who's actually still in, if I still saw him, I'd say, hey, how you doing, sir? Or commander, or whatever he is now. He's like a 2-star general or some bullshit. But like, I still had that respect, and it's automatic.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to touch on, because Ching asked like what things we would change. I think that they need to work a little bit more on being, I guess you could say, lenient on certain standards with weight. Because I know people who have literally gotten out with eating disorders. They literally booted them because of eating disorders. And they could have died. They were very close to doing that, I think, very much. And also it leads to addiction.
It's just mental health altogether. They just don't give a shit.
Yes. But it was after they had a baby, and they just expected them, to be right back to that. And they failed. a weight standard, which meant that they failed their because they were taped wrong. And that's another thing. So they failed, and so they weren't able to make rank, and they ended up with an eating disorder that was almost pretty deadly. And I understand why weight standards and physical readiness is important, but it can be very harmful as well. It was one of the reasons why I got out, because I'm 5'5.5", and the weight for a female was 163. That was the max. I'm sorry, but I was in pretty dang good shape, I would have to say.
Well, those standards don't really like, I was in charge of the PT stuff and doing measurements every 6 months, measuring your fat and timing you and making sure you do push-ups and sit-ups
I wish I wear that now.
Yeah, but like it is subjective in a way where they're like, okay, here's your standards, but it doesn't take into consideration. You could have someone that's 5'8" and 165 pounds of chewed up bubble gum. They're not ready. But you can have someone who's 5'6", 185 pounds of pure muscle that is competent, and that's kind of that whole gray area. There's not a lot of gray area in the military. It's black and white.
One of the issues is it's always been the wear and appearance of the uniform that is really. Yeah. I saw a guy get kicked out of the military because his arms were so big. And they were, I mean, this guy was one of the most fierce fighters we had in the Union. I mean, you found every week, every Monday, you'd find out that he whipped 3 guys in the quad. That's just how he was. But they kicked him out of the military because his arms were so big that they had to, like, in his uniform, he would have to go get them all personally self-tailored. The one thing about the military that I do like that they're starting to come with, at least in the Army, is they've changed the physical fitness exam. That used to be nothing but push-ups, sit-ups, and a run. And, of course, sit-ups are the worst thing in the world for your lower back. That's a fact. Yep. And now what they've done is they've made the physical fitness exam more, in a way where it's focused on almost like combat type level. You have to carry certain type of loads for so far, and it simulates, having to carry drums of, ammo boxes and things like that, full of rounds and stuff, and water. So I think that's better. But at the end of the day, they're always going to look at the wear of the uniform and use that as a way. And
I'm so glad that they changed the Navy ones, at least, because those were terrible. Well, oh my gosh. They, at least, I'm not sure for how it was for males, but for females, like, that showed everything. And it was so.
Well, they when we come out with the
getting
Army,
asked if I was pregnant.
When we come out with the ACUs, before the ACUs, and we still had the camouflage greens, the BDUs, you absolutely, I mean, those things fit you. I mean, it was almost like they were self-tailored. I mean, if you were gaining weight, you were not going to hide it. When they come out with the ACUs, they said you no longer have to starch and press your uniforms, and a lot of us didn't like that because, to be honest with you, I thought that the ACUs looked sloppy, and as an officer. As a company commander, when we did that switch, I didn't like that. I liked my troops looking sharp. I didn't like the ACUs, but the ACUs were able to, I think, hide a lot of people. It's kind of hard for me because, like I said, I was in different types of units, and in those units, everybody knows. I mean, you're in those units.
Shouldn't the health? I think that the health of a member should be more than just looking good in a uniform too. Well, you want them to look good, yes, but it should be the health, of the member. They shouldn't be like starving themselves. I know that, I used to take laxatives and make sure that I was down at a certain size, just to make sure at that point in time.
You're right. And that's the thing, is that as time goes on, we start to learn and we realize, looking back now, I mean, I kicked troops out of the military, if over things that right now today, I would say no. I mean, I kick people out of the military for drugs. Today, I would first at least look and see how did they get on the drugs. Oh, they were issued. They were, the doctor gave them to them. Same thing when it comes to the wear of the uniform. I mean, it's just one of those things. We were brought up in the military.
The mindset.
And I'll be honest with you, like I said, I always served in light airborne sapper battalions. And I mean, it is fierce. And you have to absolutely always be at the top of your game, because if you're not, there is somebody right behind you that will take your spot in a moment's notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very well said. Richard, I have a question for you. You are also involved with politics. And also you advocate for teachers' strikes. So can you talk about some of the stuff you have done or you are still doing, please?
Well, ultimately, when I was a state senator in West Virginia, I run for state senate because there was a daggone bully thug, and I beat him. And of course, my first big thing was making medical cannabis legal in the state of West Virginia. And one of the last speeches that I gave that I believe put me over the top to get everybody to vote and support and pass my bill, I held up 13 dog tags. And I said, medical cannabis is not going to bring these guys back.
No.
But medical cannabis is going to help those who see their faces every night when they close their eyes to go to sleep.
Absolutely.
So we were able to get medical cannabis passed in West Virginia. The following year, it was the teacher strike. And I had no idea when I got up and gave that speech that it was going to light the match on the teacher strike. But it did. I've been a huge supporter of unions. Obviously, when I retired from the military, I spent 4 years in the classroom teaching ROTC. So I worked side by side with teachers and cooks and bus drivers and special aids needs and secretaries. So, I picked that fight. And what it did was it made me realize that, we need a louder voice just outside of here. So I ran for Congress. And of course, if it wasn't for Donald Trump coming down here and campaigning against me twice in the last month, I would have won. But at the end of the day, right now, as the national spokesman for No Dim Left Behind, it is a phenomenal mission for me. I absolutely love it.
What is No Dim?
No Dim Left Behind is an organization that is trying to find good, solid candidates that we can get behind that can take on the Lauren Boeberts, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Josh Hawleys, the Ted Cruzes in areas that are red and that, for the most part, nobody really wants to support. We've got phenomenal legislators that will absolutely do amazing things if we can give them the support. If you look at Lindsey Simmons from Missouri, who absolutely ran for Congress in an area, her husband, she was the first person running for office that was a military spouse. Her husband was actually in Syria and his base was bombed, and that was when the bounties were on the heads of our troops. I mean, she's a Harvard grad, but in Missouri, if you didn't scream how much you love Donald Trump, you got no support. And we go into the red rural districts and we try to find these people, and then we try to get them support, and it's not easy. Because it's very easy to donate to a Democrat in a heavily blue area. Mm-hmm. But it's not easy to find people that are willing to throw money towards a Democrat running in a red rural state.
In New York, we got Democrats running against each other, throwing shade. I mean, you can't get enough of them.
And it's a shame. It's a shame. But I mean, we can't find, a person like Marjorie Taylor Greene in her area. The truth is we also have to be realistic. There is a phenomenal veteran that's an African American that is actually running against Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah,
I've seen him on Facebook.
He seems like he is phenomenal. But here's the problem with that. The problem is nobody wants to support him and donate money to him because
Facebook ads I gave.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he's getting ignored because a lot of people are saying, okay, let's look at that district. That district is literally an R plus 50 district. Mine was an R plus 54. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is an absolute pariah. She's garbage. But at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to beat Marjorie Taylor Greene right now, sadly, when you look at it, is another Republican that runs against Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's a horrible person. She's been kicked off her committees. She's getting paid $174,000 a year to do nothing but make noise.
For what?
She's good for nothing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, she's in a district that's probably 97% white, and that's a problem because for some odd reason, especially in the South, the white people, and I don't give two shits what anybody has to say about what I say, the white people in those areas, even though they may claim to not be racist, they still just love them racist ways. And that's exactly the way that it is. Mm-hmm. And we try to go in there and we try to find people that can take these people on. And it's not easy. It's not easy.
And honestly, this is what he's doing is necessary because the machine of the DNC will not pick a fight they know they can't most likely win. They don't like the long shots at all. And that's why Richard's got to do what he's got to do. That's why I support No Dim Left Behind too, because
and it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard because we know. I mean, if you look at our candidates, we had Mia Mason. Mia Mason was the first female transgender Democratic nominee to run, in a primary election. She's a transgender. She's she was a Navy veteran. No. She was an infantryman. That's right. She was an infantryman when she was in, and she was amazing. But if you look at our candidates that we had, Devin Pandy from Georgia was phenomenal. I mean, what a great guy to listen and talk to. We had 3 candidates in Florida, but at the end of the day, it's been this way for the last 2 elections, and we have to hope that it ends in 2022. The whole Trump bullshit. Where I'm living in West Virginia, these people here, you can sit here and say, look, I'm for this, I'm for this, I'm for this, I'm for fighting for this, I'm doing this, and I can help you have a better life. And they're going to still say, but what you think about Trump? And if you don't tell them that Donald Trump is the second coming of Christ, you just lost.
If he ain't your Lord and Savior.
That's right. Yeah. You lost your support. And we have to hope. We have to hope. In 2018, in 2020, absolutely. Donald Trump was the friggin' effect, the Trump effect. We have to hope and pray that in 2022, and that's one of the reasons why, Glenn Kirshner is one of the most amazing legal minds in the country. I call him the Oracle. Glenn Kirshner has said that by the end of this year, we will all get to see our Trump in a handcuff moment. And that's huge because if that happens by the end of 2021,
it's going to be a wonderful day.
If it happens by the end of 2021, then that's not going to be an issue in 2022. As long as Donald Trump can still talk and have the ability to speak in politics. Because if his ass is in jail, he ain't out here talking to politics. And if he still has the ability to be able to grab a microphone, he's going to hurt people. He's going to be a detriment to the Democrats.
Richard, we have a question from a young man, Peter Mancu. Can you see it? Has there been a change of attitude toward UBI in West Virginia from Richard Ojeda's political run to past the COVID times?
Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think there is a lot of people in this state that absolutely would love to universal basic income would benefit the lives of these people more than anything that we absolutely can do. And I will tell you, that's one of the great things about Andrew Yang. And that's why I love the math, because Andrew Yang didn't just say it. Andrew Yang could prove it with the numbers. The universal basic income would do so much to these people. It's basically trickle up economics. And at the end of the day, instead of giving it to the filthy rich that are going to stick it in an offshore account or shove it in a mattress, at least the money is going to go through the hands of the people who need it. It's going to make it into Bezos's pocket anyway. It's going to make it into Zuckerberg. It's going to make it into the filthy rich. But if it gets to go through the people at the bottom, it's going to be a boom in the economy. 37,000 adults in my home county. 37,000. 37,000 times 1,000 every single month. What an influx of money. If you have a skill, you would be absolutely dumb as a damn stump if you didn't get out here and use that skill. If you could open a business, you'd be stupid to not to, because people got money. And when people got money, they do things. They fix their car. They fix their repairs on their houses. They buy better clothes for their kids. They just do all kinds of everything.
They need to pass a value-added tax first so they can pay for it.
Well,
and that can be that can be tax on marijuana when it becomes legalized, because
yes, you can. But at the end of the day,
it passed Congress.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, look at Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is running for the mayor of New York, and he's talking about UBI. Look at what that would do. I mean, in people in New York. I mean, honestly, with all that extra money coming in. I mean, you're talking about what that would do to New York. I think that would elevate Andrew Yang to when he's done as the mayor of New York. Then New York being a success, then we finally get Andrew Yang in the White House.
Well, I'll say this, guys. Let's do the math. Richard said 37,000 people in his county, his home county. That's $37 million every damn month. There will be an entrepreneurial explosion. It'll be incentivize people to leave LA, to leave New York, to leave Chicago, these high rent areas where you're paying $3,500 a month for a studio apartment, to say, fuck that. I'm going to take my $1,000 a month, whatever the number is. I'm going to go here with my spouse, girlfriend, kids, because I have 2 kids that are over 18 right now. So if I was married and had 2 kids over, that's $4,000 a month coming into our house. Guess what? We can go buy a property real fucking fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if a husband and a wife, $24,000 extra income every year, every year. I mean, and then you got kids in college. I mean, I'll tell you right now, everybody who's been to college, if you were given $1,000 a month, do you know how much friggin' ramen I ate in college?
You know how much friggin' ramen we still eat?
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you right now, me and my wife, when we were dating,
we asked for ramen for Christmas and we did it.
When me and my wife were dating and we was in college, literally one day a week, we would go buy the cheapest piece of meat that we could find.
We still shop at the dollar store.
Yeah, and that was reality. And we thought that we were lucky to get that piece of meat and a damn thing of macaroni and cheese. That would change everyone's lives, especially in an area where I live. $1,000 a month may not seem like a lot to people that have a lot of money, but around here, man, you're talking about people that are working their asses off and are bringing home $1,500 a month.
Yeah. Right. And that's the thing. If you work for minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, which is $7.50 or $7.75, whatever it is, let's just call it $8 an hour times 40 hours a week times 4 weeks. You're only bringing home about $1,200 a month after taxes.
You're bringing home $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Double it.
$15,000 might sound like a lot to a kid in the 10th grade, but to an adult that's got responsibilities, holy shit. And where I come from, it's dig coal, sell dope, or join the military. If you don't join the military, or you're not selling dope around here, or you're not in one of the coal mines that are left, then you're working at Walmart, you're working at Wendy's, and you're working at McDonald's, and you are making minimum wage, and it's $7.25 an hour. And it sucks.
Yeah, but you double someone's income, and now you've literally got them out of poverty.
Yeah,
because the poverty level is $12,000 like $900, right?
Yeah. Look at this UBI. You don't call it UBI, but that's exactly what President Joe Biden has done. That's how they have elevated 50% of the children in poverty out of poverty. Because right now, every month, every child under the age of 18 in a family is getting this check every single month. That is UBI. It's absolutely UBI, and it has elevated 50% of our children that live in poverty out of poverty. I mean, let me tell you, this is an Andrew Yang. You know, I don't give a shit what anybody says. Nobody until Andrew Yang said anything, even remotely would have thought about this. And Andrew Yang is proving that it works, and it works, and it works so well. And you know it works so well because our government, the president of the United States, has allocated this for people under the age of 18, and it's UBI.
And it's a taste. It's a taste.
Yep. Spot on.
Yay.
Spot on.
What could be. And
To start.
Could you imagine when Andrew Yang wins the mayor of New York and institutes a UBI in New York? Could you imagine everybody in Chicago is going to be going, hello? Everybody in Los Angeles, everybody in San Diego, everybody in the major cities, without a doubt, are going to be going, what about us? You know, and this is going to require all these other leaders to start looking, you know, and here's the thing, though. This is about doing something for people. You see, I come from a state, West Virginia. Right now, the governor of West Virginia wants to get rid of state taxes. Okay, because that is going to save him $400,000 a year. The way he's going to make up for these state taxes not, coming in is he's going to jack up everything else. They're going to raise sales tax to 8%. They are taxing everything. And he's trying to push this off as, hey, we're not going to pay state taxes. When you don't pay state taxes and then all of a sudden you got to figure out how you're going to get that revenue back, it's on the backs of the working class citizens. Our governor is the richest man in West Virginia. He's a billionaire. He will save $400,000 a year without having to pay state taxes. But the rest of us are now going to spend an extra $1 per can of soda that you want to drink. They're going after everything. Their e-cigarettes has a 23% hike in taxes. 19% hike in tobacco. Yeah, it's all. And like I said, I don't smoke, anything that do any tobacco products. But at the end of the day, people out here that do, they're just sticking it on them. That's the difference between a Jim Justice, that worthless piece of shit, and a person like Andrew Yang that actually wants to help the people at the bottom.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I lost my audio.
So
Boyce. So how is our boy Andrew Yang doing in terms of mayorship?
Well, they've had some people who are dropping out of all the online forums now. Some of the lower rung people are like, you know what? I'm not getting anything out of these public Zoom meetings, if you will. So there are some people that are kind of seeing they're at that point like, you know what? The juice isn't worth the squeeze. And I think that lower third is going to start dwindling out here over the next 30 days. And then all those people, again, ranked choice voting. He runs a positive campaign. He was leading in number 2 votes and number 1 votes. All he needs is 50.1%. I'm sorry, just over 50%. He wins. So right now, the latest polling showed him at it's kind of weird about New York. A month ago, he had 28% of the first votes, number 1 votes, and he was second in number 2 votes. And undecided was 13%. Well, now everyone lost. He went from 28% down to 18% because 50% of the people polled were undecided all of a sudden. You know what I mean? So it's a really weird, volatile thing. But he's still leading in all major categories. He's leading number 1s, number 2s.
I have a question. Is he because the last time I looked at his page, he didn't have it up yet, and I keep being told that he's going to. Has he put up his veterans plan yet?
I don't think so because it doesn't apply to the city politics.
It doesn't.
It does to the people in the city only.
There's an awful lot of homeless veterans.
Oh, absolutely.
On the street.
But I think he's addressing that with his basic income.
I understand that, but there's more to that as well. And he had his veterans plan, and I don't want to see it die. And
No.
I think that he needs to make it so that it's at that level of, I guess,
Well,
almost like a smaller level, but that it's applied to veterans. His veterans plan that he had when he was running for president needs to be applied to the city of New York. At least get it there.
And I would tell you, I can guarantee you that that's absolutely the mentality that Andrew Yang has. I can guarantee you that he's not. I guarantee with everything that I know, Andrew Yang is focusing on that. I will tell you that homeless veterans in New York getting $1,000 a month. The key thing is making sure that all the homeless people have access to that they can be able to make sure that they get that UBI when it comes out. And to me, what he is doing for the poor. If it's just like what they're doing right now, what President Joe Biden is doing is UBI for children. That's what he's doing, for UBI for family that got kids under the age of 18. If just that right there alone is significant. Andrew Yang is actually doing things for the poor, doing things for the people that struggle. He is elevating these people's lives. Elderly people that are cutting their meds in half will no longer cut their meds in half under Andrew Yang.
But I want to make sure that veterans are able to get their jobs and their certifications so that they can.
I totally understand. I understand where you're coming from. But I can guarantee you, Andrew, it's one thing about Andrew Yang. He's smart. And I guarantee you that he's listening to people around him with all these issues. I tell you, he's one of the most, I've been more impressed with Andrew Yang than almost anybody.
Have we talked about this question already? What could be the military to do evaluate and treat PTSD in veterans?
Okay, let me, and I know everybody will want to add into this here, but one of the problems that we have in the military that we need to figure out, and that is how people look at PTSD, because in a combat world like mine, combat arms. When a person is struggling, they don't want to let people know. I will tell you that I found myself walking in the darkness without a weapon in Iraq. And I woke up walking in the darkness. And it was in a rough month for me. I was in 2 explosions in that month. And honestly, I knew something was wrong with me. I lost my appetite. And I went to my first sergeant, and I told my first sergeant, he was the only one that I would speak to because we were very, very close. And he actually took me to speak to a doctor that nobody knew about. And the doctor put me on this medication that really, for about 3 days, took me out. But my first sergeant made sure that I was not going out on missions. And for 3 solid days, I was pretty much to myself, resting, sleeping. But the truth is that I was scared to death because I knew something was wrong with me. But I was scared that if I said anything and I elevated it to anybody above my first sergeant, that I could be removed from command. I was a company commander at that time.
Or just kicked out in general.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's one of the problems that we have in the military. It's you have to be able to, and I'll tell you right now, in the world of combat arms, it's not going to be changed. It's not going to fix. You're not going to get these people to feel comfortable coming to anybody and saying that they're struggling because they're going to be worried that they're going to lose their jobs. The military has a problem, and that is they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out.
Same thing with MST. Same thing with MST, military sexual trauma.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bad part about that is that in the military, a lot of times, as soon as you hear that, everybody wants to automatically make the villain the female,
the victim. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's a real problem we do have culturally. I won't say it's cultural. It's a command culture, really, of suppression, of bad PR, because it hurts their recruitment, it hurts everything, and It's a reflection on them, and it's a culture. But we do have a culture where you're taught to be indestructible. That's why they get you in at 18. They don't wait for you to turn 25 and develop a frontal cortex that says, holy shit, I can die easily. When you're 18, you're still invincible, man.
Yeah.
I dislocated my ankle and I was back the next day. Wrap that shit up in ISIS, son. And that's exactly what I did. That motherfucker was over here.
He sounds like what my husband did. He tore his ACL, PCL.
Yeah. And you're just like, I'm okay. You just got to tell yourself you're okay. You got to convince yourself. If you tell yourself, then everyone else will believe you. It's just weird mindset that
it just didn't happen. You convince yourself that it didn't happen.
I attended the Chilean Commando scuba course literally 3 days after a vasectomy. Yeah, because I wasn't going to let that hold me back.
Man, you must even blow a nut out, man. That's not
worst move ever. But I mean, that's it. I mean, you just it's part of it, man. I mean, you do everything in your power to try to stay on top of your game. I mean, I can remember when Desert Storm kicked off, I was literally devastated because I wasn't there. I was in Germany, and for some odd reason, my unit didn't get. There was 8 of us that got the word that we were going to go. We were going to deploy with the 23rd Engineers, and right before, like literally, we got a packing list and everything. We were supposed to get all of our stuff, and then a unit in Wildflicken, or no, Grafenveer. No, it was Wildflicken. They deactivated the unit, and they took all those people and they filled the holes that was needed in the 23rd. So we got turned off. I was devastated, and I was young. I was young, dumb. To me, I was like, I ain't married to nobody, ain't got no family. All I want to do is go get some. I mean, that's combat. And I was a combat troop, so
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say something to our audience. We have quite a few people here, friends, relatives, and young Gan. Thank you so much for joining us. And this discussion is very heated and very nice and very necessary to me, myself, and to my friends on the panel. And I'm Ching Juhl, and I do this talk once a week, at least once a week, on every Wednesday mostly, sometimes adding on Friday. So next Wednesday, I will be chatting with Yanni. Yanni, who's running. How do I say her last name?
DeRosa.
Yeah. And then next Friday, I will be chatting 4:00 Eastern time. I will be chatting with the Matt Skidmore, the sensation.
Look at you, Ching.
Yeah, the sensational YouTuber. And thank you. This whole speak talk is actually started with talking with Jamie, and Jamie is in my film. Oh, Richard, I'll send you the film. I made a movie about Yangan, supporting Andrew Yang.
It's very good.
Yeah,
really? Very, very, very good.
Jamie is in it. Yeah, Jamie is in it and talking about veteran
more
issues.
Than a Handshake plan. Yeah, and what the More Than a Handshake plan means is giving more than just a handshake to veterans, giving the certification, the reverse boot camp, legalizing marijuana within the VA.
Yeah,
that's what that means.
Yeah, that's a fact.
It's not just legalizing it federally, legalizing it within the VA.
I think I want the VA to be administering medical cannabis, a non-addictive form of pain management, by the way, to our veterans, so that our veterans, it's part of their
I just finally got it to where my psych doctor no longer questions me on me taking it.
Well, I'll tell you
for my psych issues. Awesome. She's finally like, okay.
Yeah, but the thing is we need to get it to where the VA is administering it to you. That's what needs to happen, because that's what right is.
I was able to get a card, thank goodness, but yeah.
So our time is almost done. So I just wanted to let you know that please, if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe Juhl Media, and also we have I think Boyce has a very handsome channel called
Mindful skeptics.
I'm always having a hard time to say it. Sorry. Mindful skeptics. Yeah. Richard, do you have a channel, YouTube channel?
Yes, it's if you just got to type in Airborne, AIRBORNE, and then type in Ojeda. You'll see my page. Please subscribe to it. I'm on Twitter, Ojeda #4 America, and then I've got a page on YouTube. I got like 78,000 followers, or 87,000, maybe one or the other. You can follow me on there. Let me tell you, but on those, understand when you go to an Ojeda page, you got to make sure it's real. There's like literally hundreds of fake profiles. Yeah. Apparently somebody thinks I'm hot enough to use my pictures. The downside of that is it's probably some guy from some third world country that thinks that I'm
it was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Richard, you're a sexy beast with that damn beard, brother. Let's admit it. I love the beard.
Yeah, man.
So Jamie, do you have a YouTube channel? You want people to...
I do, but I don't really. I just post random weird stuff on there.
Okay.
Mostly what I talk mostly on is like if I post stuff, which I haven't done in a lot, is I do it on my Facebook, which is Jalen for More Than a Handshake. It's MTAH instead of math. And people are like, "Oh, you spelled it wrong." I'm like, "No." And
and it's okay. I just give me your link. I can update into the description of this YouTube channel, so I can write inside so people can go find that out. Okay.
And I'm also at the Juggalette J on Twitter.
Hey, Ching, I also want to say that NoDimLeftBehind.com.
Oh, okay.
We have pages for No Dim Left Behind too. So if everybody will go to follow those, that'd be great.
Yeah. All right. That's great. So how about we're almost overtimed, and how about everybody just say one thing, like positive, anything. So we end. Shall we start with Jamie?
Ching is amazing. I have to say that. Richard Ojeda, you're one of my heroes.
Thank you.
And Boyce, you're awesome for helping to put this all together and just being so skeptic, I guess.
Yay!
Skepticism.
If I have to say anything that's positive, I don't know if this is positive, but it's basically telling everybody to please pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on and pay attention to legislation. If you don't pay attention to legislation, make no mistake about it, your elected officials that are in your state houses are doing things that you don't know nothing about. But if you knew something about, then you probably wouldn't even vote for their raggedy asses. So play it, don't ignore politics. If you're an adult, you need to pay attention to politics.
Yes, absolutely.
As the old saying goes, if you don't play politics, politicians play you. It's just that simple.
Absolutely. Yep. And they've been keeping us pretty distracted for a while with other things.
Yep.
We have not been paying attention like we should be. And that's how we ended up with problems.
Boyce, is your turn.
I'll say the most dangerous thing to the establishment is informed voters. That is the scariest thing. It's scarier than any AR-15 they've ever seen. No many house
and voters in general.
It is scarier is to have an informed voter. And so,
great numbers.
So I would say to people, find a way to dedicate time at least a couple times a week, if not every day. So, I'm going to look at the news and go to the politics section. Or if you want to be more involved locally, go to your local Facebook page, or if you like your county Democrats, county Republicans, and kind of start locally. Think globally, but act locally. It's really easy.
The most power is state and local government.
Well, when you donate to a federal or a congressional candidate, that money is diffused. It's such a big project, but you can take $100 and make a difference in your own neighborhood that damn quick.
Yes.
And all it takes is you to inspire 5 people, 10 people. You can make a big difference in your neighborhood. So think globally, act locally, and be informed about your neighbors and treat each other with respect. Just just be nice. It's not that
Yes.
much.
Be kind.
Thank
Rewind.
you. Thank you so much. So, what I need to say is, I am very grateful to know you, Youngan Boyce, Youngan Jamie, and so fortunate to know Richard Ojeda. And I'm just keep doing what I need to do, which is giving a platform to people who have voices and people who want to express themselves. And I will keep making documentaries about causes. And thank you so much for everybody being with us. And until next time, thank you.
Airborne.
Thank you, Ching. Thank you,
See you guys.
Boyce. Thank you, Richard.
Hey,
I'll see
thanks.
you
Great
guys in
meeting
New York.
you.
I'll be in New
Airborne.
York in June, guys.
Airborne. See y'all.